Welcome to Season 3 of Sailing Sitka. I'm Kenna and this is Jay. We live aboard our 1976 Choi Lee sailboat named Sitka, in which we have sailed south from Canada in 2022 to the very last port of Mexico. This season, we are finally exiting Mexico and taking our boat further through the Panama Canal and into the beautiful Central American waters. So hit that subscribe button and follow along, as this season we are sailing as far and wide as possible. You guys you make this happen, and we couldn't do it without you. So thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of Sailing Sitka, and I hope you enjoy. Welcome to this bright and early episode of Sailing Sitka, and the one where we sail to Panama City. I start off any sort of longer overnight passages by taking seasickness medication, and if you get seasick and haven't tried Cinerax, I highly recommend it, as it does me wonders where Sturgeon and the Patch simply do not. It was a damp morning in Bahia Honda, but as soon as the sun started to rise, you could feel the warmth on your skin and the dryness in the air once again. We were all set to lift hook and say goodbye to one of the most precious and memorable anchorages that we have been to yet. If you haven't checked out our latest episode about Bahia Honda, we highly suggest you do. As we were lifting hook, it became quite obvious to us that it was an extremely muddy bottom here. Enough so that it required the use of our saltwater high-pressure pump to get all the mud off the chain before bringing it into the boat. It was all going well until it wasn't. Using our frickin' water pump, it broke off the connector and then it filled this fiberglass locker that we have for all of our spare tools and things. Starting off rough this morning, very, very rough. We pulled it all out to use because it was so freaking muddy. And then, yeah, while we were cleaning up all the mud, it freaking disconnected, and now this is what I'm doing. Boat life. We've had this happen a few times before, so you'd think we'd learn by now. The hose is 25 feet long, and we thought that would be enough to use at the bow, but the constant pull and torque on the hose is enough to have it pop off the not so well locked connection to the pump. It goes to say when or if we need to use the pump, we now always have someone beside the locker where it resides, so that if it happens again, that person can simply switch the pump off. But this all being said, we have big plans to relocate this pump closer to the bow in the near future. To be even more real with you guys, as this was happening, our crew member was flying the drone to capture the brochure-like and picturesque perspective of sailing. And I find it absolutely hilarious that as this was being filmed, I was down below cleaning up stinky and rusty seawater from a locker filled with chipped paint and fiberglass. But this is the true definition of cruising offshore. At one point, you're watching the sunrise while sailing into the horizon, and the next, you're elbows deep in filth below deck. It really doesn't get more real than that.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Sailing Sitka. So today we're on our way to Panama City. So it's going to be quite the contrast from the last two spots we were in Panama. Very remote, very luscious, very green. And now we're going to the concrete jungle that is Panama City. But it's going to be a nice little change of pace. We're going to be able to get a lot of stuff that we've been looking forward to get for Sitka. This morning when we left, so one of the things in Bahia Honda that's been different for us so far is that anchorage was mud, and kind of like when we were back in La Cruz. And what that means is we have to clean the anchor chain before it comes into the boat because it's covered in mud and it's going to stink and make everything dirty. So we use our high pressure pump, which we installed last season, and the pump works great. The only issue with it is the dumb little fittings where the hose goes into the pump are supposed to have these lock tabs that you push in, and then they're supposed to be locked. But this was the third time today it's happened since we've used this pump, where it comes off, and then you have high pressure water, salt water, spring everywhere in that compartment, and that's a compartment where we store a bunch of stuff. So I say this a lot, but this was an actual nightmare where Kenna had to go down because I had to be out here because we're navigating in like this little tiny channel. So like I can't be down there helping, so I'm like steering and making sure that we're not gonna, Sitka's not gonna hit the ground. And Kenna had to take everything out of that compartment and then like sponge it dry. Like she filled the orange bucket, not the orange bucket, but the yellow one or whatever the color of it is, full of water from sponging the salt water out of there. Then had to dry everything, clean everything with vinegar because you don't want things to get rusty. And we had things in like bins in there. There was water everywhere, so it took like probably 40 minutes to clean everything. I went down at the end to help clean, but like just not ideal. So we know that Panama City is also going to be a mud anchorage. So I'm going to try to zip tie that thing so it can't come out. And when we pull anchor, we'll have somebody watching it to make sure that if it does come out, somebody can turn the switch off right away so it doesn't like fill up. Because just by the time I realized on deck and ran down, it's already like, I'd say like 5 liters went in. So anyways, that was a bit of a poopy start, but it's nice out. Right now there's no wind as per usual here. But when we turn the corner in like 10 hours, 11 hours from now, we should be getting some wind. It's probably gonna come on our beam, and then once we turn the next corner by Punta Mala, it's gonna come on our nose. Because the wind always kind of this time of year always kind of funnels in from the tiniest spot from the Caribbean, which is where Panama City is. So exactly where we're going to come from is where the wind's going to be coming from. So not ideal, but that's kind of what you got to do sometimes when you're sailing the wrong way around the world. You got to go upwind. So we're going to have to deal with that. We filled the tank at the last place in Bahia Honda with our jerry cans, and now our tank's full, but now we have no more fuel on deck. We have a 2-gallon little jerry can that I use when we do fuel filter changes, so we have that as an emergency, but we don't have any more fuel, but that should take us all the way there. So that's the update this morning on the 9th of December 2024. Cheers guys, thanks for watching.
I did not want to shoo them off, but they're gonna shit all over the dinghy, and that's the last thing we need. So sorry, got evicted. No free rides on Sitka. Now they're circling. I'm sorry. Shortly after, George, Velma, and Alfredo tried to hitchhike our way to Panama City on our dinghy. We had some other visitors join us on our journey south. I'm sure I've spoke of this before, maybe more than once, but I find it rather fascinating. Since ancient times, dolphins have always been considered special. The Greek god of the sea, Poseidon, was always shown surrounded by them, and in Greek legends, dolphins were believed to be rescuers of humans. Chinese, Arab, and European sailors all have stories of dolphins rescuing ships or sailors in distress. Dolphins swimming with your ship are and always have been seen as a good omen for a safe journey on the sea.
All right, guys. Well, after 8 hours of motoring, the wind has found us. We are now sailing on a close haul, but smooth seas, so it's awesome. And full main, full Jenny, going 5.5 knots. Right on course. Loving it. Loving it. We got to save as much fuel as possible because yeah, there's not much wind here, so anytime we can sail, we'll take it. This is awesome. These seas are perfect. Hopefully you get a fish on this line. Saw our first whale this season earlier too. Saw a big humpback whale. Tried to take a shot, but as soon as the camera came out, the whale got camera shy. We're seeing a shit ton of sea snakes as well, like poisonous blue and yellow sea snakes. They're everywhere. We haven't seen some in a few hours. They're really hard to get on camera because they're like under 2 feet long, and they're tiny and they're fast, and they're always going opposing us, so we cross their paths quite fast.
Hi guys.
Hi.
We also wanted to say that we ordered a couple things online.
Yeah, so we ordered that foot pump and 2 foot switches to replace the windlass foot switches that have been breaking, and all that
cost the same price that you guys contribute on Patreon.
Yeah, so thank you a lot for all of you guys that are patrons. It really helps us out. Also, thank you to all our viewers, everybody that comments. We appreciate you guys. It's super awesome. Thank you guys.
You guys make us happen. Yeah. Appreciate you.
Oh, this is like glorious right now. 5.7. And I hope, I'm touching wood right now, but I hope we have the current with us when we turn that point, because there's strong currents around this point here. See, it says strong riptide, and we've been told by sailors that it reps there. So hopefully that's with us, and then we're gonna be cooking with gas, basically. We have a dip out point here. There's an anchorage called Bahia Below, if I'm not mistaken. So that's in case like we need to stop if it gets rough or anything, because that point Punta Mala right here can get pretty rough. Right now it looks nice, but we'll see. Things change fast at sea. But if not, we're gonna keep going and go all the way to Panama City. That's our plan. Like that drop off spot is just in case. But so it'll be a 2-night 3-day sail. We should get there in the morning on the last day. I mean, we're making really good speeds today. Like we were motor sailing at like 5 to 6 knots most of the day. Over 5.8 I'd say was our average, and right now we're doing 5.5 to 6, so can't complain.
Watching the sunset at sea is magical, almost a sacred moment. As the sun dips below the horizon, the sky bursts into a canvas of vibrant oranges, pinks, and purples, reflecting off the calm surface of the water. The air cools, and a gentle breeze carries the scent of the ocean. The boat sways softly, and the sounds of the waves blending in with the stillness around you. It is that fleeting moment time seems to slow down, and there's a profound sense of peace as the day gives way to the quiet mystery of the night.
Hello guys! Alright, so it is day 2 of our passage to Panama City. It is boiling hot, and I don't know if you can hear the engine roaring in the background. That's because we just had to pump it up to 2400 RPM, because there is quite a bit of current against us right now. We were only making like between 2 and 3.5 at our 2000 RPM, so we pushed it because we felt like we weren't moving at all, and now we're moving a little better, probably averaging 4 right now. Just rounding Punta Mala. We rounded it a few hours ago, but it feels like we're still next to it because we're not moving that fast. We're creating most of the wind right now, so have the main up for stability, but not doing much. And it's crazy to think that this is the last sail of Sitka in the Pacific Ocean. So I don't think Sitka's ever been in any other oceans, to be honest with you. So it's gonna be first time in the Atlantic, which is pretty exciting. And yeah, apart from that, not too much to report. Last night we had a good 3-hour sail, but then it was back to good old motoring. So probably gonna run the engine here at 2400 RPM for another couple hours, and then we'll go back down to save some fuel, because at this rate we're burning just over a gallon an hour, and when we're running at like 1700 RPM we tend to only run like half a gallon, so it's quite a big difference in fuel consumption. We had a baby bird last night. Kenna didn't see it, but there's a tiny little chickadee bird that was there.
I did, he was on my watch.
Oh, he was there too? He left us a little shit though. See, that's his little turd right there. Chickadee turd. Chickadee turd.
Not long after, we found ourselves going through a mild squall. Within minutes, the rhythm of the sea shifted and the sky darkened sharply. The air was heavier with rain particles and cooled us all off immensely. It also gave Sitka a nice freshwater bath from all the salt that has collected on her from previous passages.
Oh, maybe I might have come back.
Our second night passage, and the last one before we make landfall in Panama City. I remember this one pretty clearly, as it turned out to be our last night passage of Season 3. Everything going forth will only be small day sails, and nothing remotely close to the passages such as this one. It was a perfect evening. The wind could have been heavier, but we weren't complaining. We were too busy taking it all in. As we know it, this was Sitka's last sail in the Pacific Ocean. A whole chapter over with, but leaving room for more chapters to come. I suppose that's the whole point of life, isn't it?
Good evening, guys. Well, it looks like the wind has granted us one last sail for Sitka on the Pacific. So that's nice. So as you can tell, there's no more engine noise because we are sailing and making anywhere between 4.5 and 5.5, so it's perfect. Gives the engine a bit of a break as well, and it's like champagne sailing right now. Pretty much flat seas out here in the Gulf of Panama, and we're about 40 miles from Panama City. It's 9 p.m. right now, and we should get there like pretty much before first light actually. But now that we're going a bit slow, we were going 6 for a bit, but now that we're going like 4.5, 5, put us there at first light at the anchorage, which is kind of perfect. And it's the trifecta of good things. It's quiet, it doesn't heat up the boat, and it's free, so we'll take it. Anyways, that's a little update right now. See you guys.
Good morning, everyone. We are starting our approach here into Panama City, and it's all filled with giant ass boats. So all these lights that you see here, all these lights are ships at anchor. Making sure we're all good.
Yeah, because we're about to cross the actual lanes that come in. So like this is the anchorage for the big ships, but ships coming out of the canal from the Atlantic side or ships going in, proceeding in, are, you know, gonna come out right in front of us here soon. So we gotta make sure we're not gonna cross any. Also, most ships right now are, well, it's 5:30 a.m. right now, and I think pilots and advisors come on board between 4:30 and 5:30, but this is when ships start to move. So yeah, I kind of like it at this time because like the lights, it makes it easy to see if a ship's going somewhere with the nav lights, and in about 30 minutes here we should have daylight, so that's gonna be perfect for the anchorage because we're about an hour and a half from our anchorage, maybe 2 hours, just because we slowed down a bit. I could pump the engine up a bit, but right now I prefer being like a bit slower so we can see what's going on. So yeah, from last time I talked to you, like we had a bit of a sail there, it was nice, and then it started like blowing and blowing, and we had to put 2 reefs in the Jenny, and then all of a sudden it like veered 30 degrees and was right on our nose, and like we were paralleling the lanes, so we didn't really want to start tacking all over the place with big ships around, so we ended up just motor sailing, and like the seas got pretty steep and shorts, like not dangerous or anything, just like annoying, like had to close the hatches. It was like spraying over the entire boat, but it calmed down about, I don't know, like maybe 3 a.m.
Sailing into Panama City's port is something that I'll never forget. As you approach the harbor, the first thing you notice is how alive it is, with the bustling freighters, tankers, and cargo ships, all moving in and out with purpose. You feel as if you are an ant amongst giants, as you weave through the waters, in awe at the size of these beasts that too somehow float like Sitka. Depending on periods of drought, the Pacific side of the Panama Canal can experience significant levels of congestion as they wait to transit, and here is where they remain anchored until then. The towering skyline is hard to miss as the gleaming skyscrapers dramatically take up the entire horizon. There is something about sailing into a port of a large city that is hard to put into words. The scent of salt water mixes with the faint buzz of city life in the distance as we make our approach into the anchorage of La Brisa's Diamador. I still can't believe after weeks of desolate, remote, and quiet villages, we are now amongst a concrete jungle filled with quite the opposite. You guys, honestly, I'm pretty speechless right now. This is a much different view than we are used to lately. Holy smokers, that's a big city. Whew, it just goes on and on and on. Crazy. This is the first big city Sitka's been in since San Diego in 2022, and it's just December 2024. Wild. So we are making our approach in now. We're following these markers on our port and starboard side, and we're gonna be making our way into the anchorage. And we're just soaking this all in, honestly. Like, this is crazy compared to the tiny, desolate anchorages that we've been used to, especially because we came from a tiny village of 300 people before this. So it's just, you can imagine how shocking that is to our system to be arriving to such an enormous, busy city. Feels really good to have made it here, because now for the next week we're just gonna be adventuring around Panama City, getting everything tip-top for Sitka to cross the canal and head over to the Atlantic side, which I cannot believe I'm saying those words, honestly. There was always talk about it, but we're here and we're about to do it in a week time. I'm in all the feels, if you can't tell. As we approach the anchorage, we can't help but feel a level of success and accomplishment come over us as we get ready to drop anchor in Panama City. It was a major box on our list of to-dos for Season 3, and being here now felt fulfilling and like we've achieved a huge goal. Here lies Sitka and her crew for the next week as we get her booked and prepped for the Panama Canal, all while exploring this massive and historic city. Don't worry, we film it all and break it down for those of you who are interested. If you've made it this far into this week's episode, let us know by commenting "Concrete Jungle" down below. Thanks for being here, and we will see you next week for our last episode before the big, unedited, and raw canal crossing video. Stay tuned. Thank you for watching this week's episode of Sailing Sitka. Stick around for more to come. If you enjoyed, please spread the love and let us know. Special thank you to our Patreon members for making these videos possible, as well as helping our dreams come true. See you all next week.